It lay dormant for over 3 years, but in the rolling flint hills of eastern Kansas, a persistent searcher has finally found his white whale. This is his story.
Hi, my name's Matt Koskie. I'm at the Flint Hills Nature Trail, and I'm here to share my experience finding the first NTQ Kansas medallion. I'm originally from Minnesota. I've cemented myself in Kansas, and I've been here since late 2020. So the reason why I moved to Kansas originally was my work. I matched a residency at University of Kansas Medical Center. So I actually have quite a wide range of experience when it comes to doing these hunts. The NTQ treasure medallion was not my first hunt. My hunting started back when I was a kid in Minnesota. The St. Paul Winter Carnival is an annual event in St. Paul, Minnesota that has gone back since the 1960s. And they've always had a treasure medallion hunt where the clues are released every midnight for a little over a week and a half. The clues were always a little bit obtuse and really hard to solve, and that would get my dad frustrated, but he'd like to go out there, we'd connect as a family, and actually culminated in 2018 where a group of 4 other people and I ended up finding the medallion. So I think I started this hunt and got the first set of clues in December of 2021. One of the clues that I remember that I received was talking about the trail being accessible to non-motorized vehicles only and potentially on horseback, and also that it was 117 miles long. So with those 2 bits of information, you kind of realize that they're talking about the Flint Hills Nature Trail. That was kind of further cemented with the next clue, which was simply the word shirt, which is another word for Flint, that cemented the Flint area or Flint Hills Nature Trail. There was another clue that was released shortly after that that said it was somewhere between B and O. At first I was thinking the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, so I was thinking of what states is located geographically between those 2 areas. And that's when I had thought maybe the state of Virginia is between Baltimore and between Ohio, and Virginia Road has a trail access. And then within a week of joining the hunt, I ended up getting another clue, Walk the Ugly Duckling. And there's a river that goes alongside just a couple parts of the Flint Hills Nature Trail called the Murtisine River, or Swan Marsh River, put in English. And a swan is, that's an ugly duckling. I immediately knew that there was essentially 2 areas along the trail that goes up right alongside the river, and that's where I would focus. The next clue talks specifically about a Massachusetts senator, that there's a town in Kansas that's implied that's named after the senator. I came across Rantoul, and that was a Massachusetts senator, the last name of one. The next clue talks specifically about heading toward an abolitionist town of the past. If you look on even as simple as Wikipedia, the page for Osawatomie, Kansas, as well as their city website, they really lean really heavily into their history of John Brown and the abolitionist movement and Bleeding Kansas and all of that stuff. So taken together means, to me, is that if you start in Rantoul, you have to head southeast to Osawatomie, and that's the direction of the trail that I took. So after looking at those clues, I parked in Rantoul. They have a central access where a lot of people that ride horses on the trail park. I parked there and started walking southeast along the trail, and something caught my eye on my right-hand side as I walked about a quarter mile down the trail, and it really alluded to the next clue that ended up coming out, and that was passing a graveyard for flying machines. There's a business that's just based on the south end of Rantoul. Essentially has the fuselages and old body parts of old planes. As I continued walking, I was looking for what the next clue had actually mentioned, seeing on your port side 4 watchmen. And as you continue to walk, the semi-wooded area that you're walking on opens up to a wide open kind of prairie. There's a stand of 4 trees by themselves with nothing else around them but open field. And when you take that in light of that clue, it's like, okay, these are the watchmen. The rules had stated that you'd want to focus on landmarks or things that stood out in the area that you were searching because they might be used for future clues. That's exactly what happened, because a future clue that got me out again looking on the trail was telling you to basically cross the bridge. So at this point we had the parking in Rantoul, graveyard for flying machines, the watchmen, and then quite a bit further down, the bridge. Helped me immensely because that was actually the area of trail that matched up right alongside that river from previous clues. There's still a lot of area to search, and what ultimately got me there was the final clue, which mentioned that if you see a bus on the side of the hill, you might have gone too far. And of all things that you can see on a nature trail, there's a big rusted bus that must have been there for decades. Just crashed on the side of the hill, stuck in the trees. Looks like it's been there forever, and it's certainly something that sticks out, so it makes a lot of sense that it was used for the clue. Ultimately, what the interpretation I had from this now is that the medallion's between the bridge and this bus. So all told, before the release of the last clue, I had spent just about 2 years between researching the clues and actually going out periodically. I think up to the day I found it, I had gone out 8 or 9 times. So the morning of the find, I rolled in at probably 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and the fog was just starting to kind of lift off the ground, and the path just goes on forever and ever and ever once you park. The treasure's maybe 1.5 miles out past where you park. So ultimately what got me to the exact area where the medallion was found was that the clue writer mentioned specifically that there's a fence that's kept to your west. Might imply that you need to be pretty close to that fence in order to find it. I had searched along kind of the low-hanging fruit, the rocks that were within 10 feet of the edge of the path. So I figured I needed to kind of expand my grid, go out just a little bit further. And the hill on the side of the path was quite steep between the bus and the bridge, but there was a small area where the grade was a little bit shallower where I was able to kind of more safely get up on the side of the hill. And once I got up there, it really flattened out, and I was able to kind of walk up and approach this tree that had the fence growing, like going right behind it, and there was a rock there. And then I approached that rock, I kind of see that the blue come out of that box that the medallion was in. I knew right then and there that that was it. This ordeal was finally over, 2+ years, and I had finally got this sucker. So there's this concept within medallion hunting. It's the thrill of the chase, or the thrill of the hunt, so to speak. It's a mix of a lot of different emotions that kind of all blend into one catharsis, and that's like relief that you finally found the dang thing. And for me, I'd been hunting for almost 2 years for this, so there's a certain degree of relief for finding it, but also that excitement just washing over you that there is something that was out there this long that needed to be found, and I was the one that found it. Essentially what it is to me, and what I hope that the point of all this kind of stuff is to get people outside and really kind of enjoy things. I don't think you gotta be someone that looks around for these things for a living or be a professional treasure hunter in order to find them, to even have a shot at finding them, or to even, be excited about the find. Look, from the location that they put it in, from the level of the clues, I think everything's very approachable, and honestly I think that's better probably for the treasure hunting community at large and for most people. So after I found this first NTQ medallion, actually what I did the very next day was sign up for another one that was still open. While I was happy to get this find, I really want to try to get other ones. I really encourage anyone to kind of, that it's findable. You're watching these videos where people have found these medallions. They're out there. This is a real thing, and there's a real prize for finding it, and you got to get out and see the great outdoors. So get out there.